supporters. Well, my goodness. I find this rather interesting indeed.
Remember when people went crazy over Caitlin Clark getting a Nike deal while Aaliyah Wilson didn't? Well, here's the twist. Aaliyah had her own Nike shoe deal all along. She's actually known about it for 2 years. Imagine sitting back and watching the internet blow up over something completely false. That's exactly what she did.
This is unbelievable. It's just like the WNBA to have their supposed superstar act this way. She's perfect.
Now, let's break down this wild story from start to finish. Remember when the internet went into a frenzy over Caitlin Clark's Nike deal? Well, things are about to get even crazier. It all started when news of Clark's deal hit, and Twitter instantly blew up. People were outraged, calling it unfair, and before long, the whole situation spun completely out of control.
Remember all of the blowback, the world exploding, the wokes on Twitter losing their ever-loving minds because Caitlin Clark was getting a signature shoe from Nike. A'ja Wilson did not have one. By God, she needed one. It was racial.
Fans, celebrities, and even some WNBA players jumped in, all asking the same question: how could Nike do Aaliyah Wilson like that? She's a champion and an MVP, yet no signature shoe? Tweets were going viral, getting shared thousands of times, and people were creating entire threads about how unfair it all seemed.
The mainstream media went on full assault over the fact that A'ja Wilson was being done like that, while the white girl was succeeding. I mean, that was wrong. Full victim action everywhere. Setback, the world exploded.
You know how social media works? One person says something, then another adds to it, and suddenly it blows up into a huge controversy. People started bringing up race, debating popularity, and even accusing Nike of not caring about the WNBA. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You couldn't look away, but you knew it was spiraling out of control.
I mean, how many different articles were written? And the outrage on the Twitter. I mean, the movements. Oh, people were creating movements over A'ja Wilson being disrespected.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Guess who stayed completely silent through all of this? Aaliyah Wilson. She just sat back and watched it all unfold. And why? Because she already knew the truth. She had her own Nike shoe deal the entire time.
And it is confirmation that A'ja Wilson, who was at the time, prior to Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA, sent an angry mob towards a 22-year-old and knew exactly what she was doing.
Crazy, right? But wait, it gets even wilder. The outrage kept growing, with people piling on. One tweet that really took off said, "Asterisk, it's not just about the shoes. It's about recognition and respect for players of color in the league." Asterisk. And just like that, the whole debate shifted, turning into something much bigger.
A'ja Wilson folks were so up in arms over her not getting a signature shoe, and she sat back willing to play a victim. She's known for over 2 years. By the way, that's been like 9 months ago. So she knew months and months and months before the outrage that she was getting a shoe.
People started making long, detailed posts, arguing that this was yet another example of black athletes being overlooked. The WNBA fan base was outraged, and everyone had something to say. Sports commentators chimed in, other athletes spoke up, and suddenly, this wasn't just about Aaliyah Wilson anymore. It became a conversation about the entire structure of women's basketball.
Was tweeting, the second Clark's deal got announced, "What's delayed is not denied," and then made this whole thing about, then started posting about how basically people of color will never get these opportunities.
And through it all, Aaliyah Wilson just watched. She saw her name trending, saw people passionately defending her, and stayed completely silent. Imagine sitting there, knowing you already have your own shoe deal, and just letting the internet explode with drama.
Never posting that. And a lot of people thought, oh, she was posting that in order to get a signature shoe, because it did get pushed a few weeks later. Not only was that not true, she has confirmed She had to keep it secret for almost 2 years. So for almost 2 years, she knew about this.
You might be wondering, if Alia knew about her shoe deal, why didn't she speak up? Well, here's the kicker. She kept it a secret for nearly 2 years. Can you believe it? She knew she was getting a signature shoe, but didn't tell a single person.
A'ja Wilson had to keep her Nike signature shoe secret from her parents for almost 2 years. She showed them the A1 the day before the official reveal in their size.
Imagine knowing you got this amazing deal lined up, watching everyone freak out, thinking you've been overlooked. It's like holding a winning lottery ticket while your family holds a fundraiser for you. The pressure must have been insane. Nike likely had her under a strict NDA, but still, what do you think was going through her mind during all of this?
The key takeaway here is she kept it a secret for almost 2 years, while watching all of the backlash, all outrage, all of it.
Picture this. Alia is scrolling through her phone, seeing all these people defending her and getting upset on her behalf. And it wasn't just fans. Other WNBA players were speaking out too, some of them possibly her friends or teammates. The whole time, Alia is watching this unfold, knowing she could end it all with just one tweet or statement. But she didn't say a word.
A'ja Wilson never came out and was like, hey, let's calm this drama. There's no reason for this. Let's tamper this down. Not everybody has a full story. Yada, yada. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of that happening. Which tells me she's more than happy playing the victim. She's more than happy playing the victim.
You got to wonder, was it worth it? Was keeping that secret worth all the drama it caused? Because here's the thing. Alia's silence ended up putting Caitlin Clark in the spotlight, facing a lot of unfair backlash and hate. It's crazy to think how different things could have been if Alia had just dropped a hint or two.
And she didn't have to come out and say she was getting a shoe. All she had to do was come out and make some kind of a statement to try to calm the arms. Eventually, I'll get there. I'm proud of what I've done. But let's not make this a racial issue. Nah, none of it. None of it. Happy to play the victim card. Seriously, sitting back, soaking it up.
Some might argue, well, she was under contract. She couldn't say anything. And yeah, that's probably true. But here's where it gets interesting. Experts are saying that even with an NDA, Alia could have cooled things down without revealing anything. Maybe by saying something vague, like how things aren't always what they seem, or reminding fans not to jump to conclusions.
And if you say, oh, she's an NDA, there is nobody, and I mean no NDA, that makes it so that you have to pretend, you have to play victim and pretend you don't have a shoe when you have one coming. You have to stay silent. You don't have to. Especially when you saw what was happening.
Instead of stepping in, Alia let the storm keep raging. And you know what? This isn't the first time something like this has happened in sports. Athletes often have to stay quiet about deals, and it almost always leads to drama. So there's Alia, sitting on this huge secret, watching the internet tear itself apart over something she knew wasn't even true.
Are you going to come out retroactively, be like, I don't know what everybody was talking about? Nah, even if you do that now, it's way, way, way too late.
All right, let's talk about Caitlin Clark. You know, the one who just landed that huge Nike deal. Well, what was supposed to be a dream come true quickly turned into a nightmare. I'm not exaggerating. Picture this. You just signed the biggest contract of your life. You should be celebrating. But instead of popping champagne, Caitlin found herself right in the middle of a nasty social media storm. And trust me, it was ugly.
Let me get this right. Caitlin Clark dealt with all the crap. You watch the mainstream media go full racial. It was a full-on conspiracy because A'ja Wilson was black and she had not gotten a signature shoe. And it turns out it was all a bunch of nonsense.
People came at Caitlin from all sides. They said she didn't deserve the deal, accusing her of getting it just because of her race. It was brutal, seriously brutal. Can you imagine waking up every day to thousands of messages telling you that you're not good enough? That's the reality Caitlin was facing.
And they was mad has all kinds of new hell because Caitlin Clark got her a signature shoe, which, by the way, Nike has set on themselves.
And here's the kicker. Caitlin couldn't even properly defend herself. How do you fight something that isn't even true? It's like being accused of stealing when you know you didn't. But there's no way to prove it because the proof is hidden. We saw Caitlin try to stay positive in interviews, talking about her game and looking forward to the future, but you could tell it had to be eating her up inside. It's like trying to smile for a family photo while your mouth is full of lemons.
You saw that every single thing, you saw that all of this was just generating hate towards a 22-year-old, who, by the way, had never played a game at this stage. She was a 22-year-old who never played a game. A 22-year-old. You are nearly 30 years old. You're nearly 30 years old. Knowingly sending an angry mob towards a 22-year-old player is awful. That's just awful.
Now, you might be wondering, where was Nike in all of this? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Nike, the company that just signed this superstar, barely promoted her shoe. It's like they signed her and then got cold feet, not wanting to fully back her up.
I mean, if it wasn't for a few billboards, and finally she showed up in a flash on a Super Bowl ad, would you have even known? I mean, honestly, what Nike and Caitlin Clark are known for as of right now is the fact that they have set on Caitlin Clark as what is their most valuable asset. Let's not get confused.
You got to wonder what Caitlin was thinking through all this. Did she know about Alia's deal? Was she told to stay quiet too? Or was she just as clueless as the rest of us, watching the storm build around her? And she had no idea why this whole situation put a huge target on her back for something that wasn't even her fault. It's like showing up to a party you were invited to, only to find out everyone thinks you crashed it.
And people, look, these other WNBA fans that's been around forever, these Caitlin Clark haters, they came after Caitlin Clark. She got all kinds of nasty blowback because she was getting a signature shoe and it came out. Of which time you will not convince me Nike is not setting on that signature shoe on purpose.
And here's the real kicker. Nike was so afraid of the backlash that they ended up hurting their biggest new star. It's wild when you think about it. They signed this incredible player, this phenom breaking records left and right, and then they got cold feet about promoting her.
They're not marketing her correctly on purpose. Why? Because they're scared of the original WNBA fans, which are a bunch of damn activists. They're scared of them. Then why did you sign her? Why did you sign her?